What's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and I made it my mission to help you guys own it. I'm back, baby. I was gone in Puerto Rico with Fat Man Zoom, and it was a great time. Thanks so much for allowing me. I don't want to say allowing me because I was going to do it anyway, right? But I certainly appreciate your patience. I was kind of like I don't know. It was just a good time. And I certainly appreciate the well wishes and everybody wanting me to say hello to Fat Man Zoom. We had a fantastic time. It was a great time just to be around friends, and he just, I don't know, it was great. So thanks, guys, for all the support on that end. Today is going to be a little bit of a different kind of vibe for live streams. You guys know that I normally pop in here for reactions to earnings and so on and so forth. And we're still going to do that when the time calls for it. But we're starting to wind down, or we are winding down. It's pretty much in kind of a lull until the next earnings season comes about, again in around September, October. So we're going to be about 6 weeks of just kind of slowing down a little bit as far as that kind of action is concerned. And I wanted to kind of open today's live stream up with like a open forum of sorts. We're going to talk a little bit about Jerome Powell and everything that he said and how the market's been reacting and my thoughts on that. But and we'll do shit or legit at the end. So make sure you're staying tuned to that, and make sure you put the stocks in the chat as whether or not you think it's so that I can determine whether or not I think that your favorite stocks are shit or legit. Make sure you put them in there. But I kind of wanted to give this a little bit more of an open forum because, as you know, there's a lot of changes happening with the channel and with my business, and multiple businesses now are kind of merging together. I don't want to say merging together, but they're working together. And so there's just been a lot happening. And I kind of wanted to take the pulse of my community a little bit and reach out to you guys and ask you how you're feeling. So we're going to get into that too. Before we get into anything, I want to shout out my starting five. What's up, John Gostin, Licka Jane, Trials, Chris Reed, Kevin Hawthorne. You guys are our starting five. If you did not make the starting five, it could be because you're not subscribed to this channel. So make sure you're hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and hit that like button on your way in the door. So as I had mentioned, hey, what's up, Snookeroo? I see you there, bro. Thanks for tuning in, brother. But yeah, as I had mentioned, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about some potential changes and what you guys want to see, because I think there's going to be a little bit, I don't want to say evolution, but there's going to be small changes, and maybe they turn into big ones. We'll see how you guys like them. But before we get into anything, I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about what's going on in the markets. So right now I'm looking at the overall market, and we're down, but not as bad as we were this morning. And actually, we're starting to turn up and possibly go green. I'm looking at the S&P 500 right now. It's only down to around 12.5 points, which is only about a fraction of a percent, about 0.3%. The Dow's down 86 points, and then the Nasdaq's down another 81. Now, this is coming off of a Friday in which, you know, things really sold off because of what Jerome Powell had to say. So this has been a very interesting weekend, I should say, you know, starting on Friday, leading into today. We'll see. It looks as if the market's going to actually end up closing in the red, but it's going to be rather flat, more or less. What's interesting is that we did see crude oil, continue to make its march upwards, and I have some thoughts on that as well. I like this Right Time Moto, already bringing the feedback. I certainly appreciate that too. So we might have to leverage Don Fran from the Don Fran Show on that. I think he can give a better crash course on that. But so anyways, yeah. What happened? Why was the market selling off, and was it warranted? And could we expect more pain in the future? And as the title said, you can kind of see what Jerome Powell was talking about on Friday during the Fed meeting at Jackson Hole. So what was actually communicated? Well, one of the things that he said was that the Fed was going to do everything they could to fight inflation, period, full stop. And this could mean that we might see some pain on the consumer side of things. What does that entail? What does that mean, pain? What kind of pain are we talking about? It could be in the form of higher costs for spending across the board. It could mean job reduction, so we could see higher unemployment. And this is all in the name of reducing inflation. So what do we do from here? I think my thoughts on this are that I think that there's going to be a point in which the Fed just goes too far. And we've kind of dabbled on this a little bit that, is Jerome Powell going to keep going until something breaks? And the narrative that was at least spun at Jackson Hole tells me that, yes, there's that possibility that we could see interest rates continue to go up until something breaks. And I believe that we are close to that. My worry here is that we do end up getting thrown into recession because of the actions of the Fed. And then they have to turn right back around and start lowering interest rates again. Now, he had mentioned when asked that he wasn't interested in raising rates just to lower them again. But I think that there is certainly a possibility that that could happen. And one of the big reasons is because we're already seeing deflation take place. We're seeing commodities come down a ton. Housing prices and housing and sales have come down a ton already, some of which we haven't seen since the likes of 2009. And I think that while we are seeing inflation still, it's still sticking in some points. There is some inherent risk here that the higher they go on interest rates, the higher likelihood that we get thrown into a recession. And if you guys recall, in the beginning of the year, I'd mentioned that I could easily see us hitting a recession in 2023. And I think that could very well happen if the Fed continues down this trajectory. We see another 75-point rate hike in September. This is all obviously going to depend on what we see from CPI numbers. Not all depend, but it's going to be heavily influenced by CPI that we see for the month of August. I don't know. I think that we'll see some really sharp reactions in the market if another 75-point rate hike comes in for September. Could we see a 50 or 25? How would the market react to that? Again, it's all a guessing game, but my assumption would be that if we saw something like a 25 basis point, if you went as dovish as 25 points, then I think the market would actually respond positively to that. What does this all mean for your own investing? I think that, obviously managing risk is going to continue to be key, but we look at what's going on in the world right now, especially on the energy side of things. And if the Fed looks a little bit more on CPI rather than like a PCI, then that could cause people to be a little bit more risk averse. I think that when you take food and energy out of CPI, it tells us a whole different story, right? Because energy is very volatile. It's really hard to make fiscal policy on when you're including things like food and energy because they fluctuate so much from month to month. Makes it really difficult to just you can't change federal policy on a flip of a switch. And so I think that some people ask that all the time, or you'll see some comments on Twitter, right, where they're taking certain metrics out to make numbers look however they want them to. And there's some truth to that. But if you take out food and energy, I mean, let's just talk about energy, right? We saw crude oil, WTI crude came down 30% from the end of May to the middle of July, and now it's creeping right back up. So when you see fluctuations that fast and you have a Fed that's very data dependent and they're making interest rate hikes or not based off of that type of data, then it makes sense to take out the food and energy. But I think it's also worth at least taking note that it still impacts the consumer, and that creates a ripple effect across the board when it comes to inflation in general. If you're paying less in gas and in energy, it gives you more money to be able to buy more things everywhere else. If gas continues to go up, oil continues to go up, and you're spending more on that, means you have less money to spend on other things. So I think that as we're seeing crude oil go up, we're going to continue to see some of that inflation come down. That's my theory. And I think that we actually do see oil make a huge comeback. So to that point, I wanted to talk a little bit about energy. Let's go ahead. I'll share my screen with you guys and we'll take a look. Here's the S&P, or the SPY rather, down just a little bit, but I wanted to turn your attention to this. And this is Marathon Oil. Now, if you guys have been a follower of mine for some time, you would know that Marathon Oil has been a frequent flyer on my watch list, which you can obtain by hitting the join button next to subscribe or going to ownthechaos.com. Would love to have you guys over there. And you can get my watch list for me. I put it out on Sundays now. It's called Stock Watch Sunday. I changed that up a little bit. But you can see this is Marathon Oil. And I talked about Marathon Oil being a dip buy event. When we saw things come down for about 6 weeks, when oil made that significant downturn. Remember when gas was like $5 a gallon almost, and now we're seeing it around $3.50 in many areas. So I think that we're going to start to see that turn right back up, especially leading into the end of the year. A couple reasons why. One of them being that the SPR is about done. We're not going to be dipping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve like we had from in beginning of spring all the way up to now. That's going to be unavailable to us. There's no real problem or no real solution to the supply problem, even though we've seen a release from the SPR for quite some time now, and there's still no solution to the energy crisis problem when it comes to supply on oil. Thirdly, you compound all of that when you implement sanctions on Russia. And whether, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be implementing sanctions on Russia, but that's just what's happening. Europe has yet to have implemented all of their sanctions on Russia and are planning to do so in December. Stock market's a forward-thinking vehicle, right? And so we're seeing this move back up in energy. And I think that this has a lot to do with it. And I think that Marathon Oil, a lot of the other energy companies, I like Marathon just because it's got a nice dividend yield. It has a really nice break even at $35 a barrel. That's when Marathon starts making money, at $35 a barrel. So that to me also is very attractive. There's other ones though too. Obviously, the big boys, Exxon and Chevron. I'm not even going to touch those. But you have Pioneer Natural Resources, and you can look at this one too as a really good dividend yield. This one I think has like the highest dividend yield in the S&P 500. This has also made a significant bounce. If you missed out on these bounces, guys, and it could be because you weren't a part of the Chaos Crew. So again, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, all that good stuff. But there is that join button next to subscribe. If you want to get my in-depth analysis on a lot of this stuff, make sure you're doing that. Help support the channel. I certainly would appreciate it. But these are still stocks that I think can win in this market. And if you look at the side of my screen here, right? Look at all the red. The two green you see on my little watch list, my recently viewed list, is Marathon and Pioneer. Energy stocks still rocking and rolling. So, in this environment, in this market, what is there to trade? Jim Cramer gets criticized for a lot of things, rightfully so. I'm not going to say that he doesn't deserve it. However, when he always talks about there's a bull market somewhere, that is 100% true. There's always somewhere to move your money to, in my opinion, unless there's some sort of black swan event, then there's really nowhere safe to hide. But in this case, I think that energy is still to play here. I really do. Love to get your guys' thoughts on this. Pittsburgh T says that natural gas supplier goes straight up. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's another good point. Germany, one of their largest natural gas suppliers is Russia. It is the largest by a long shot. Where they get most of their natural gas comes from Russia. Russia's been fucking around with them for a month or two on whether or not they're actually going to turn that pipeline back on after doing quote unquote maintenance. Sure it was. So we've actually seen companies like renewable energy companies like Enphase really take off. If you guys recall, here, let's take a look at this Enphase chart. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Enphase renewable energy has been leveraged heavily by Europe, and in particular Germany, because of the fear of being without power and natural gas coming the wintertime. And so Enphase communicated this on their earnings call. Look, this is their latest earnings. Here's their earnings date. You guys remember when I reacted to this and went absolutely ape shit? They're up 200% year over year, largely due to what's going on in Europe. So to me, I think that this is actually another good opportunity, but yet another energy related stock as the market now officially closes. So I think that this is actually a decent opportunity still. I think the energy is still going higher from here, and it may do that going into the end of the year as well. Oliver Thorpe says, thoughts for us UK folks trying to buy US stocks on the dip, but with this horrendous exchange rate. Oliver, bro, I know you've been following me for a while. Hey, we got 69 viewers in here. Ew. But Oliver, I appreciate you, brother. Long time follower and listener, man. I appreciate you tuning in today. I wish I had a good answer for that. I really don't. The Forex issue has been an issue for sure. I would say the best way to offset that is maybe to find an ETF that doesn't have high rates. I don't know. We have quite a few people that from across the pond, Oliver. I don't know what. I know Scott's in here. I don't know if Savvy Money Show is watching this afternoon, but he's also in England, lives in England as well. So I really don't know if there's anybody else watching that would love to give insight on that. Please feel free to put it in the chat, but I'm not quite sure, Oliver. I really don't know. So those are my thoughts on what's just been going on the market overall, and me trying to get back in the swing of things after the vacay. But a couple things that I wanted to address as far as the channel is concerned as well. And as I'm talking about that, if you guys want to take part in Shit or Legit, make sure you put SOL and your favorite ticker in the chat, and I'd be happy to react to that and let you know whether I think it is shit or legit. Danny Level, great point. You can really control Forex. I try not to think about it when I invest, just dollar cost average over time, and we'll average out. I'm assuming that maybe Danny's across the pond as well. Oliver Thorpe says he's been just hanging on to S&P 500 ETF. Yeah. So there's some good parts there, good insights there. So yeah. Anyway, as I was mentioning, there was going to be, I don't want to say changes, but I want to try to branch out a little bit. As you guys know, I'm now a part of MetaFi. I've moved down to North Carolina in the Charlotte area to work with Peter Saddington and his team. I've now built, or I want to say built, but I've revived a second channel, DCTV or Decentralized TV. You can go check them out as well. Actually, I'm going to share that in our YouTube chat as well. If you guys aren't subscribed to DCTV, every morning 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern time, I go live with DCTV. That is a show that I lead up in the mornings. So if you can't get enough of me in the afternoons, we talk about all kinds of stuff in there as well. Some of it's traditional finance related, like the things that I talk about here, but there's a lot that's crypto related. I'm sorry, I was trying to do two things at once here. So when you look at, hold on, I'm going to pull it up here for you guys so you guys can subscribe to it if you're not already. But you look at what I'm doing there, and I thought that maybe it would be beneficial for you guys to kind of join me on a journey into cryptocurrency, and more specifically, mining crypto. So I'm learning a lot about mining that I was on my 100% green bean when it comes to mining in general. And, I know enough about, here's the link there. If you guys want to go check that out at DCTV, we'd love to have you guys over there. But, I kind of wanted to document my journey and learning how to mine cryptocurrency. And this isn't just talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, for example, or some other cryptocurrency that I could mine and actually make money doing, that you guys can do in your own homes. I ran into met a guy here within our MetaFi community who built miners that live off the grid. It's all on solar power and it pays him every month. Craziness. So I thought maybe that would be something that you guys would be interested in. And And maybe I should introduce crypto a little bit more. Would you like to see Peter on here more? Would you like to see some of my other colleagues that are heavily into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in general to just open that conversation a little bit more? I've tried to figure out what to do in between earnings seasons because earnings is my lane, I feel like right now. And I don't know if there's really any other channel out there. At least I haven't found one. Maybe you guys can point them out to me, but I haven't found one that actually dedicates their channel to earnings like I do. And I think that's what makes me unique. And I think that's kind of how I fit in this niche of finance and the stock market and that sort of thing. And you guys love that. So I want to keep doing that. But there's this lull in between about 6 weeks of time that I feel like I need to fill. And so what do I fill that time up with? Maybe I fill it up with what I'm actually doing down here and let you guys in on what's going on in Charlotte and the mining side of things and that sort of thing. So, but if it's not, like I said, I'm open to all kinds of feedback. If you guys want to see more of something else, you want to see more stuff that's stock related, or you want me to branch out and open this conversation when it comes to cryptocurrency, I would love to get your thoughts on that. I think that it would be interesting. And the reason why I came up with this is because documenting my own journey lets you know that I don't know everything there is to know, right? About finance, and that I'm always learning as well. And I feel as if, me starting from scratch allows you to be like, hey, he's figuring it out too. So, if Brad can figure it out, I can figure it out. That's kind of how I wanted it to approach it with you guys. But let me know. William Williams just subscribed to DCTV. Appreciate that, my man. Trials says, I'll watch it. Appreciate that, Richard. Pittsburgh says, you're the best with earnings, not even close. Worth the monthly subscription by itself. I appreciate that, Pittsburgh T. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, and that's really where I think that the bread gets buttered on this channel is earnings. So I'd certainly appreciate the love on that. It's just how I fit in that time. And maybe, listen, I'm not saying that I should go away from earnings between that time. Is there, and I love reaching out to you guys and getting your thoughts and opinions on this. Is there something that I can do in between that time that says that maybe is related to earnings and how to look for earnings, or how to maybe how-to videos on how I find my information on earnings? How do I find them so quickly, or whatever, right? Like, is that where the channel lives? And so, or maybe it's both. Maybe I every once in a while I'll share what I'm doing with the mining stuff and how I'm learning how to mine cryptocurrency, and then also showing you some other things as it relates to earnings. But there is just like this period of 6 weeks where the channel doesn't do much, which obviously, impacts my livelihood. This is the only way that that I'm able to continue to do this. I don't want to say the only way. I have many sources of income, but the only real way that I want to continue to be able to give you content and live on YouTube and engage with you guys every day is if you're watching every day. So if you're not, then that doesn't really do me any favors. But if you're not watching it as well, it means that maybe I'm not doing something that keeps you visually or engaged or entertained. And I want to make sure that I'm still doing that too. So Delvis Kadavid said, I watched this morning. It was pretty good. I would like for you to talk about crypto and give your thoughts about the direction of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I like this. I like this a lot. I think that Davis, I think it's pronounced Davis. I hope I pronounced it right. But I would like to get my own thoughts on where I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are going, and then also have other guests on that I think that have more tenure than I do when it comes to crypto and Bitcoin in general. I have Peter Saddington that I could literally hit up anytime I wanted to talk about this. And Peter's been in it since 2011. So for over a decade, we have somebody who's basically been in Bitcoin since its infancy. And we have that mind that we can leverage on thoughts and stuff like that. So while I'm sure that you value my opinions and my thoughts on this, I think that it means more coming from somebody who's been in it basically since it's been invented. Peter Saddington has bought Bitcoin when it was at $2.50, and I got this guy in my back pocket, right? So I feel like it's one of those things where it'd be great to have him on a regular basis. Maybe it's once a month, once a week, whatever. We'll figure that out. But I like where your head's at. I like where you're going. How about a market open on Monday live for an hour market close? So this is actually kind of what I'm doing right now, Pittsburgh T. I definitely get where you're going. It's kind of one of those things that Kevin used to do, right? Or maybe he's back to doing it. Who knows? Meet Kevin. If you guys follow him, he does the market open, market close. So I do that on DCTV where I'm live 9 to 10 there, and then I'm live 3:45 till whenever here, usually 4:30. So anyways, that's what I kind of already do that. So you just have to tune in to DCTV to get me in the morning, and then on the Chaos in the afternoon. And the whole goal is to actually have this all live under an umbrella. So Own the Chaos is going to be a huge brand within the partnership that I'm developing. We have DCT that kind of lives under that. Other media and other channels that are going to live under all of that too. So it just didn't make sense to have it all live under Own the Chaos because I didn't want to overwhelm you guys and have it be like, oh my gosh, none of this makes any sense. So those are my thoughts. Peter owes me 2 Bitcoins. Can you see about getting that for me? Yeah. I'll see what I can do, Melanie. That's funny. All right. So anyways, that's what I wanted to communicate to you guys, let you know what I was up to and what my thoughts are. And I always like leveraging my community because I'm not going to create content that you don't want to see. And I want to make sure that you guys want to see it and that you're entertained by it. And so I'm tossing ideas out, getting your feedback. Let me know what you think. And we can go from there. So anyways, let's get into Shit or Legit. If you guys want me to react to some stocks that you're taking a look at and you would like me to determine whether or not I think they're shit or legit, put them in the chat, put SOL and that ticker symbol in there so I know what I'm looking for. The first one that I have is NEO. William Williams, my man, NEO. So let's take a look at NEO real quick. Here's the chart. And it hasn't been pretty, right? And most of the EV stocks not named Tesla have just gone straight into the shitter. Why is that? Because Tesla is been a fucking dog. Have you guys not paid attention? I'm not saying that you haven't, William. I'm not calling you out. I'm just speaking rhetorically. Have you guys like just seen how much Tesla is actually taking over? I mean, really, I know that Tesla seems like they're in the news or somebody's talking about Tesla every day, right? Like that's not a surprise, but just how much they're taking over. Have you seen the California sales? Tesla's number 2, only to Toyota, and Tesla's looking to eclipse them very soon as well. Might not matter too much if you're not living in California. However, California is definitely a good litmus to the rest of the country and even the world. You know, I was a bit, I don't want to say I was skeptical, but I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, Elon, when he talked about how the Model Y was going to be the number 1 car in the world. And it's like one of them things, man, where it's just like, how do you doubt him? How do you say, no, that's not going to happen? Because it is. It's happening right now. To get back to NEO, is it shit or legit? The fact that Tesla has such a head start, and many other companies do as well, I just don't see the value here in NEO like I see in even something like a BYD. I would be a buyer of BYD over NEO. One of the big reasons is BYD is profitable. They make money, and they are actually somewhat competition to Tesla in China. NEO isn't. The concept that they have with battery switch outs and that sort of thing is nice, but they still aren't profitable. And then there's the risk of just owning a Chinese asset, which I think is super risky. If you have the appetite for that kind of risk, sure, knock yourself out. But to me, William, I think that this is going to be shit at the end of the day. And maybe at best, somebody buys out NEO. But I don't see them being around long term. I would be surprised if they were, unless they do something crazy. All right. Shit or legit on Cleveland Cliffs. Man, we haven't talked about Cleveland Cliffs in a minute. Had a great run for about a year and spiked all the way up to $34 a share just this year. Actually spiked up to there in April of this year, and how has fallen significantly. This is kind of what I was talking about at the top of the show when with the price of commodities coming down significantly, right? And this is kind of in that same boat. But what I will say about Cleveland Cliffs is that demand's still very high, and Cleveland Cliffs still has yet to have benefited from the infrastructure bill, the multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bill that was put past last year. And I think there's definitely some promise here. You look at the forward PE on this, and it's absolutely stupid. Forward PE on this is at 4 times next year's earnings. They're profitable. They're actually still growing, believe it or not. And I actually like this, especially with it coming back down here in the teens. Cleveland Cliffs, in my opinion, is legit. Appreciate that one, Colin. All right. Let's take a look at Zim. Oh, my gosh. I feel like I get one of these a week, Zim. Not trying to call you out, my man. But we looked at Zim, Chris, when earnings came out, and it has done nothing but go down ever since. I don't know if this is actually worth taking a look at. So you can take a look at this trend. It has not been pretty to me, and the earnings were actually pretty abysmal. It is getting to a point to where I would say risk reward could be good, just because we're getting down to pretty low levels on RSI. Maybe we could get a decent bounce. But overall, man, I don't see Zim going anywhere until we hear from them on their next earnings, unless something crazy happens. So to me, with lower guidance in an earnings miss last time around and the trend that it's on, I would have to say that it's shit. I would stay away from this one. Although you could make the argument to me that risk reward is actually quite good, just given how much this has come down. Paulzilla, Meta. Man, you know, some of the big FANG stocks have just gotten absolutely hammered. Meta Platforms, in my opinion, is legit. And I think looking at how this has tested the bottom at 155, and we're pretty close to there again, with a company that's trading at where are we at now in terms of forward PE? 16 times. Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around there. 16 times next year's earnings. You compare this to other stocks that have $40 billion in free cash flow. Let me repeat that. $40 billion in free cash flow. And this stock's trading at 16 times next year's earnings. I don't know. Earnings have been a bit of a letdown over the last several quarters, and I'm not gonna shy away from that. Some may argue that Meta is still shit because of that, and until they prove themselves, it's going to be shit until they turn themselves around. It could be treacherous, and I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna shy away from that. But look at this. I mean, it actually looks pretty damn good risk reward wise down here in the 150s. It has yet to have fallen below 154, and maybe it will. We'll see. But the risk is certainly good, right? I mean, the stock's fallen more than 50% from its highs. And this is, again, a company that's bringing in that kind of cash flow. There's not a whole lot of companies out there that are doing that. That's why it belongs in that's why it's in the FANG conglomerate. So it's been rough for Meta, but I still think that the risk reward here is very good. So it's legit in my book. JWN. So is that it's a Husker? JWN. Nordstrom has taken a huge beating. They just had earnings last week, and it's shit. I don't see how they're going to turn this around anytime soon. They haven't had good earnings really for the last 18 months, 2 years. And it just hasn't been good. They continually come down. We saw highs at $45 back in March of 21. They haven't tried to even think about looking back to those numbers ever since. It's shit. There isn't really any kind of positive news in sight for them. So I would be really hesitant in getting a Nordstrom. And you could make the argument being like, hey, well, you just told me that Meta has really good risk reward. Doesn't Nordstrom? Yes, technically, but it has to find a bottom first. Look at Meta. See how it's actually found a bottom and there's some sort of support here? This is why I think that the risk reward is actually quite good. Nordstrom, on the other hand, it's now broken through new lows. We're now at lows that we haven't seen since August of 2020. That's how long it's been. And it's now broken several supports. So technically speaking, Nordstrom's just not in a good spot right now until it actually finds a bottom. We haven't seen that yet. So until it forms some sort of bottom, I'm going to say that it's shit. Can you make a video about earnings multiplier? Oh, I like these ideas. Appreciate that. Definitely put that in the in my notes there. Cameron says no crypto, more stock setups, technical and newsworthy plays. I can respect that. Ed Nolan says, sure, legit on Affirm. You know, Affirm had earnings last week, and it wasn't pretty. They fell quite a bit. I believe it was around 13% after those earnings. But it's fallen quite a bit since their highs, their recent highs, I should say. Their 2022 highs that we saw back in August, about 2 weeks ago. We saw this hit around $40, and it's been had a significant downturn. It's tried to hold this $24 area, and it just broke below the 50-day moving average. If we zoom in, here's your 50-day, that yellow line there. This yellow line is your 50-day moving average, but we're getting close to oversold levels too. Now, I'll be honest with you. I actually own leaps on Affirm that expire next year, and I'm a bit nervous. We're seeing some reports that people are paying, as a large amount of people are making late payments on their buy now, pay later platforms. Apple's now getting into the game here, which could impact Affirm, but some people forget that Affirm actually is partnered with Apple. So that's something that worth considering too. As much as it pains me to say it, I would say that Affirm right now is shit. And this is coming from somebody who actually owns Affirm. I probably wouldn't even look at Affirm until it came down and tested some sort of bottom at $16. I think it's possible. If it gets back above the 50-day, maybe you start thinking about it again. But I don't think that's going to happen until we see some sort of bottom get tested. And it's kind of in no man's land right now. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Affirm. And again, take that for what it's worth from somebody who actually owns this company. Shit or legit on Nvidia. It just sounded like some of those chuckleheads on CNBC. Nvidia is legit, and it's going to remain legit. I know that it's been rough on the semiconductors, and their earnings weren't all that great last week when they reported them. Guidance came down, but to me, these companies like Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, some of the other ones, I think that especially Apple's a huge what's the word I'm looking for? They're notorious for sandbagging their earnings and especially guidance. And they have to, right? You're the largest company in the world. You can't just say, yeah, we're going to knock it out of the park every quarter of every year. Like you have to be conservative to a certain extent. And I think Nvidia is in that conversation. I think that they're going to be fine. It's going to be tough. They're legit. Here's what I would say about the chart. The chart's telling us that it's broken below and it's now closed below the 50-day moving average 2 days in a row, 2 days and counting. And I think that there's a possibility that it does come lower to maybe around 153 before maybe testing that bottom to see if it bounces. Risk reward wise, I think we're actually still quite good. It's down to the lowest PE that it's had since its inception. Believe it or not, even though it has a high PE, the growth here is still very good. I think it's legit still. I don't know if you'll ever hear me say anything bad about Nvidia. Let's see here. Stephen Hoyer says, here in Los Angeles, about every 10 cars seem to be a Tesla. Also, LA car capital of the United States. Yeah, right. And that's just going back to the Tesla conversation. Yeah, man. I mean, they're legit taking over. Legit taking over. All right. You got it, Colin. Colin was just thanking me for the shit legit call. I'm going to run through a couple of these other ones. Johnson & Johnson is legit. Rohit Twilio is shit. I'm not even looking at neither one of those. Johnson & Johnson has the best balance sheet in the country. It's legit. Still worth holding on to. Dave & Buster's, PLAY. I'm going to say that shit right now, Christopher. Thank you, Mike Hudson. So Meta was called out as a buy in the OTC investment account last week, and which you can go check that out. Again, you go to ownthechaos.com. You can sign up and be a part of the Chaos crew and get those alerts. So make sure you guys are doing that if you've not done that already. Danny says PayPal. PayPal is legit. It sucks right now, but it's gotta hang in there. Lastly, is trading opportunities. Is Fat Man Zoom doing well? I encourage you to go check him out over at the Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer. He's been putting some updates in there, but I'll give you my one and only update on Fat Man Zoom. And I know he's not going to mind me telling you this because it's public knowledge now. Fat Man Zoom has a third tumor. It's in a different part of his brain. It's completely separated from the other two tumors he has in the right side of his brain. He's got now one in the left side of his brain. So the cancer is growing. We knew this was going to happen. He's a little over 200 days into this since his diagnosis. Can you believe that? It's been over 200 days since we learned about Fat Man Zoom's brain cancer. It was a fantastic time spending time with him in Puerto Rico, and he's still in good spirits. He's still, living life, but cancer is moving. It's still growing, and we're just kind of taking it as we need to. He's on a new medication. Hopefully, he can slow some things down a little bit, but things are growing kind of how we expected them to. But he's doing well otherwise. Still remaining in good spirits, and still has a great positive attitude and a really decent outlook on everything. So we still love him. If you guys want to reach out to him, please feel free to do so. He always appreciates it. Even if he doesn't respond right away, he's always got things going on. So don't take offense to that. But he still sees what you guys send him. So feel free to do that. But yeah, that's what we got going on. And that's my latest update on Fat Man Zoom. I don't think I've really updated you guys in a while on how things are going, but there you have it. And that's going to do it for me. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I know that it's been a bit all over the place for the Own the Chaos crew, especially with just the moving and Fat Man Zoom, as we just talked about, and everything else that's going on. So it's been, I don't want to say it's been rough on me. It's just been challenging. It's just been a challenging time. Good things and bad, right? So I just appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. You make me want to come back on here and create good content. And as long as you do that, I'll keep coming back, guys. Thanks so much. I always appreciate streams like this when it's quiet and I can just check in with you guys and you can check in with me. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back at this tomorrow. All right. I'm going to take some of those ideas that you guys shot me, some of that feedback, and dissect that and digest that a little bit. And we'll come back and figure out what we're going to do from there. So thanks, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Best Buy that's going to be reporting earnings in the morning. I think there's some things in the afternoon too that we can react to. So please come back, hit that like button on your way out the door. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.